Well, it wasn't all good news from Alabama's big win over Kentucky. There was also some good news on the recruiting front.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Luke Robinson. That's me. Jimmy Stein. That's him. I think I botched that, but I'm not starting over. I also botched the cold open. I'll file that under shouldn't have tried that, cold open. But yeah, I didn't. And thanks for Gametime for sponsoring this podcast. Look, I just got back from Kentucky. I just coached my daughter to the soccer championship. Y'all give me some slack for a second, okay? There are a lot of things I've already done wrong, but something that Alabama did right was get a commitment from Ziggy Grady, one of the, top 25 players in the country for 2025, Jimmy?
He's certainly in that range. I think On Three has him just a tad lower. I think where I would put Zion Grady is in that borderline 5-star, meaning he may very well prove to be a 5-star in the 2025 process. A little early for that. I mean, there's only going to be right now probably just a very small handful of guys that are, slam dunk 5 stars. Write it down now. I think Zion is going to be one of those contenders for that 5th star. He has been a high-profile player in the state of Alabama since his freshman year. This is a well-known kid from one end of the state to the other by people in the recruiting industry and by the colleges. And that's because he's prototypical for the position for a pass rusher, which is what he is. He's long. I mean, that all starts with long and athletic, and that's him. I think he's listed at 6'4", but he's a kid that's every bit of 6'4". He's got the prototypical wingspan. His burst out of his stance is really impressive. I mean, he plays downhill a lot in high school, and that's what he's going to be asked to do at Alabama mostly. This is a guy recruited to play the Will Anderson, Dallas Turner type role. That's what he is. He's going to have to develop physically, of course, but one good start he's got to his development, I think, Luke, is he's physical. I mean, a lot of kids his build and a lot of kids that do what he does in high school, they're flashy, they're outside guys that they're like track dudes that burst out of their track stance and chase down the quarterback. That just makes you almost more of a track guy than a football player. Zion, it goes by Ziggy. Ziggy is a football player. He's very physical. His team even lines him up inside at defensive tackle on some plays. He's a great bull rusher. You see him just bull rush dudes, much bigger than himself. I mean, this is a physical football player. He just happens to be one of these long pass rushers. So this was a really big pickup for Alabama. The recruiting calendar is so screwed up. Sometimes I don't think we celebrate this enough because it's so long until he signs in December of 2024. So you're talking about 13 months before he signs. But Luke, if we'd have picked this dude up about a week or two right before signing day, we would be like dancing Irish jigs. I mean, you just get them so far in advance now, it almost mutes the celebration. But this is worthy of any 5-star celebration. So smoke them if you got them. Do your tequila shot, whatever you do to celebrate Alabama landing a big-time talent. Do that because it can't be overstated. This is a really big pickup for Alabama.
It definitely is. I like him a lot. For those who don't know, he's at Troy Henderson Charles Henderson in Troy, Alabama. I'm sorry, I had to put up our new screen that I forgot to do. And so it was just looking weird there for a second, but everybody will get over again. Another thing I've screwed up so far, but it's okay. Y'all know this was happening.
Hey, Zion's staying committed no matter how many mistakes we make on this show. Zion will remain committed to Alabama, so no panic.
Ziggy Grady is 6'4", 210 pounds. That seems a little light, but I'm willing.
He's probably a little bigger than that right now.
Yeah,
that was the size at one point. We think he's a little closer, maybe 6'4", 225-ish now. And hey, no worries. This is a junior in high school. I think this is a kid that's going to easily carry 245, maybe as much as 250 during his college career at Alabama.
And what I love, very highly nationally thought of, number 35 in the country, according to you guys over at On 3. Of course, Ryan Williams, number 3 in the country, Alabama's committed. He may reclassify, and he does. If he does, that'll bump Zion Grady up a little bit more, obviously, in the state and nationally. The number 2 guy in the state for 2025 is Naheem Offord from Parker High School. I'm just curious. And then Micah DeBose is number 3. He's committed to Georgia right now, but a lot of people believe he will ultimately flip to Alabama. And then Anquan Fagans, who at one time was committed to USC, but is since decommitted. I'm assuming Alabama's sort of back in on that too. I'm just curious. Don't want to get off too much away from Ziggy, because obviously he's a big time commitment. But those 3 guys, Offord, DeBose, and Fagans, what do you think Alabama's chances are there?
Well, Dubose, best chance of the 3. I really like Alabama's chances to flip him eventually. I don't know when that might happen. It might be this summer. For all we know, it might be another look in camp or so. But Micah Dubose, he could flip tomorrow. I'm not saying he needs camp. He could flip tomorrow. I'm just saying that I don't know what the timeline is there. I would just think that Micah Dubose is a serious flip candidate. And boy, you're a good player if you can stay committed to Georgia or flip to Alabama, right?
Yeah.
Now Offord is going to be a fun one if you're into drama. I mean, Naheem Offord is a great prospect. I mean, this kid is really, truly one of the better cornerbacks I have ever seen come from the state of Alabama in terms of just being a true cornerback prospect. I think Alabama has a great shot at Offord. And if we had to guess today, thank God we don't, but if we had to guess today, I'm going to go Alabama, but you're going to have to fight for this one. This is going to be a brutal, it's going to be a big dramatic thing, I think, for Offord. He's so good. Everybody wants him. He's at the top of everybody's wish list. And as far as Anquan Fagans, believe it or not, even though his brother, Traquan, for those that don't know, this is the younger brother of former Alabama player Traquan Fagan, who came from the same program and signed with Alabama, was at Alabama for over a year, and then hit the portal and is at Southern Cal. His younger brother was committed there for a while, decommitted, and is now open to several schools, including Alabama. I think Anquan and Alabama have a really good relationship right now. That's another one, a little bit like Offord, Luke. If I'm guessing right now, I'm going to say Alabama, but I wouldn't write that. I wouldn't chisel that in rock. Of those 3, it would be Dubose that has the most likely ending up at Alabama, followed by Offord, followed by Fagans. But all 3 could easily end up at Alabama. I think the 2025 class, Luke, is going to be maybe, you know how Rembrandt or somebody like that, I don't know anything about art. I think Rembrandt, does this masterpiece and then signs it at the bottom. I think that's like what Nick Saban may do with this 25 group. This is his Rembrandt. He may sign this 25 class. It'd be the all-time best, and he signs it at the bottom. And then we're talking about him being the master for ages off of it. I think the 25 class may prove to be Saban's all-time best.
Speaking of all-time best, we're about to talk about the CFP and where we think everybody's going to fall in the rankings when they come out Tuesday night. But we're going to go ahead and get into it because, the AP polls come out. Alabama's still number 8. I don't agree with it, Jimmy, but it is what it is. Right now, though, I want to tell everybody about Gametime. Look, love Gametime. Again, I made that up. They can pay me extra if they want to. But you shouldn't have to worry about when you're buying tickets for your next big event. I don't. And I've gotten my tickets for the Kentucky game this past week. I got them from Gametime because it was so easy. It's just magical how easy this is. I got my son tickets to the World Series, and I've gotten tickets to other contests, Alabama, Tennessee, through Gametime because I love the app so much. Gametime is fast and an easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, theater events near you with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the best price guarantee. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. It is so easy to use. You want to go get that Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege. That'll give you $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, Guaranteed. You're going to love this app. It's so easy. If you want to check out the website, it's gametime.co. Gametime.co. So go check out the Gametime app, though, because that's what I use, and it's super easy. And if I can use it, Jimmy can use it. And if Jimmy can use it, anybody can use it.
That's true.
All right. So, Jimmy, let's talk a little bit about the CFP, the college football playoff, because, I'm beginning to get a little more worried than I thought. I still do have the opinion if Alabama wins out, they're in. And because part of me is like, some other things are going to happen. I don't know what they are. I do know today it was announced Texas's leading rusher is out for the year. That will hurt them a little bit, obviously. They do have a tough game with Iowa State coming up. I think they've also got a game against Texas Tech. Texas Tech just went to Kansas and beat Kansas, so I guess nothing's crazy. They are going to have to play in the Big 12 championship game, and there's no telling what could happen there. That whole conference is sort of wonky. But I don't feel like Texas is who I really want to be chasing. Now, we were on a text chain, and somebody brought this up, and it was a good point, that the initial CFP actually had Oklahoma behind Alabama and behind Texas, even though Oklahoma had beaten Texas. And they all had one loss. So it's not unprecedented if Alabama were to pass them, which I think they can. Again, if you go and beat Georgia now, especially if we all believe Georgia's going to beat Tennessee, which I think is pretty clear now, and then Georgia will beat Georgia Tech, and then it'll be Bama, Georgia, seemingly, hopefully, both of them, one of them undefeated, one of them with one loss. And you would think the winner of that game would get in. It makes a lot of sense. Now, does that mean that perhaps, something has to happen? Washington's got to go to Oregon State. That's going to be no walk in the park this weekend. I think they also have to play Washington State, who's fallen off a cliff a little bit, but it's still a rivalry game. So, look, a lot of things have to happen. But I don't like the fact that Alabama stayed at 8. I feel like Alabama's done enough at this point to at least move ahead of Oregon. And before everybody just throws their hands up saying that's just nothing but SEC bias, Alabama's got a lot better wins than Oregon. Oregon's best win is a close loss to Washington, right?
Yeah, their best win is over Utah. And how good is that win now? And I think that's Oregon's best win, or USC. Maybe that's their best win. And as we know, I think USC has lost 4 games. Utah's lost 3 games. And that's Oregon's best wins. Alabama has wins over Ole Miss, Tennessee, LSU. A lot of good teams. So I'm with Luke. I think Alabama should be ahead of Oregon right now. I don't think they will be in the CFP. I think the CFP is going to remain basically unchanged. Maybe Georgia might be number 1 now. That wouldn't surprise me. They're the best team. I think we all agree. Georgia's just the best team. They might be 1, but I don't think Alabama's position is going to change. What I'm now hoping, my new hope, as they said in the Star Wars, the new hope. The new hope for me, Luke, is that defeating an undefeated 2-time defending national champ in the SEC championship game is the juice Alabama needs to leap over the winner of Oregon-Washington, unless it's Washington. Assuming Oregon beats Washington, if they play in the Pac-12 championship game, assuming Texas wins the Big 12, I don't think Texas's win over Alabama precludes Alabama from jumping them once Alabama beats Georgia. I don't think Alabama's going to leap Texas until that happens, if it happens. I think the win over Georgia is the ace card, the trump card, the we've got it now is the win over Georgia, and wishing that all these other teams lose doesn't seem to be working. It is crazy. Luke, this is the first time ever that there have been 5 10-0 Power 5 teams in the whole CFP era, plus the BCS era. There has never been 5 Power 5 teams at 10-0. We need to stop wishing these teams to lose, and we just need to hope that Alabama's win over Georgia, if that happened, would be enough. And we'll see. It may prove to be, certainly. But in the meantime, we'll root for upsets like Texas to lose to Iowa State. Possible. I doubt Oregon loses at Arizona State. Washington could easily lose to Oregon State this weekend. They're a fine team, no doubt. Louisville, Miami is also kind of interesting because we need to get somebody in the ACC title game that has a chance to beat out North Carolina.
Oh, you mean beat out Florida State?
No, I mean, yeah, to beat out Florida State. Now, and in my head, I'm like, North Carolina has the best chance to do that. So I guess that's why I said that. But, Florida State, we need them to match up with someone in the ACC title game that they could lose to. I don't know that they could lose to Louisville. Maybe, but I don't know.
One other thing that bothers me, there's this narrative that I keep hearing over and over and over again. And I really haven't pushed back because in the end, Alabama did lose by 10 on their home turf. The narrative is Texas dominated Alabama. And people say Alabama, people forget this for whatever reason. Alabama had the lead going into the fourth quarter. Now, They ended up losing by 10. I don't dispute that. I don't dispute that it was a thorough win. It was a nice win, and it should count a lot for Texas. I do not dispute that. Dominated means to me that you, from beginning to end, Alabama just dominated Kentucky. Alabama just that I can buy that. I don't buy Alabama being dominated when after 3 quarters Alabama had a 3-point lead. I just don't.
That's exactly right. When you consider that and the fact that who's improved since that game? Alabama clearly has. Has Texas? I don't think so. I think Texas almost just lost to TCU this past weekend. Texas had other close calls. Texas has not improved. They're very good, highly capable, and to me, still basically the same team they were in week 2, but I wouldn't say they're any better. Alabama clearly is, and Alabama led early in the fourth quarter in that game with a quarterback making his 3rd career start that has now become a fringe Heisman candidate in terms of top 10 type talk. So I think Alabama could pass Texas, but it's probably going to take a win over Georgia.
Yeah. And again, it may be a moot point. Georgia is very, 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 very good. And we still have a lot of work to do. I mean, look, we got a lot of work to do before I'm really confident about going into Auburn, but that's just me having Auburnitis. That is me. I know a lot of Alabama fans just aren't worried about it. I know differently. I tend to absorb those Auburn losses worse than most. I understand that, but I'm just telling you that I think our path of having to play at Jordan-Hare Stadium, then having to play probably the best team in the country in essentially a home game for them, that's yeoman's work, and it's going to be tough. But let me tell you something that's not tough, at all, and that's ordering from Jace Medical. This has been a fantastic sponsor. We spend a lot of time talking together, you and I. We get fired up together on wins and losses, who starts and who sits. I'm thankful for that connection we have. And today, I want our chat to be a little more personal. I just learned that you can get a 1-year supply on ED medications. You realize what that means? Bring on extended travel. Bring on the next natural disaster or supply chain issue. You are covered, my friend. You don't have to worry about whether or not you can refill your generics or Cialis or Viagra or Revatio prescription. None of that stuff. I hope I'm saying that right. And this is possible because of our friends at Jace Medical. And they are our friends at Jace Medical. Go online right now at jacemedical.com to receive your 12-month supply on your daily medication. Remember to use promo code LOCKEDON at checkout for a discount as well. A verified customer had this to say about Jace. Quote, I am thankful for this service. Supply chain issues caused me to cut pills in half to have them. I ordered most of my daily meds with a year's supply. I also ordered the antibiotic kit. I feel secure now. Prices are lower than normal pharmacies. I highly recommend this for every single person I know. If you or someone you love would get some peace of mind by having a year's supply of any daily medication, go to jacemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com to see if it's offered for you. Remember to use promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your purchase. That is jasemedical.com. So, Jimmy, let's wrap up this Kentucky game. Again, I had a blast. I've been to Lexington now, I think 3 or 4 times. We don't go there very often. Obviously, now with the new schedule, I think we'll be going there a lot more. But I really do enjoy the trip. It is pretty easily drivable, at least from Birmingham. I mean, it makes for kind of a long Sunday drive back, but that's okay. And we had a lot of fun. You do the distilleries and you do all this other stuff. You can go to Keeneland. You can see a lot of pretty countryside. Highly recommend it. But as far as the game goes, the more I keep looking at this, the more impressed I am with Alabama overall. I really believe in my heart of hearts, without that muff punt, Alabama might win that game 56-0. I know people may think I'm reaching here. That muff punt was the definition of giving a team hope. And when you give somebody like Kentucky hope, they're not a bad squad. They got some dudes. Ray Davis is a dude. And here's another thing: the teams that have these vaunted rushing attacks, we've shut them down. Now, LSU, you want to say, okay, Jaden Daniels ran for 160 or whatever he did on us, fine, but he's not the running back. Their running back only had, 40 or 50 yards. So Ray Davis, we held him way below his average.
His longest run of the day, Ray Davis's longest run of the day was 6 yards.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Just their backup running back had that home run, the 75-yarder, which wasn't a home run technically, because I think Caleb Downs caught him before he got to the end zone.
Let me tell you something. I know we don't want to give up a run like that. I get it. I understand 100%. But that's the kind of play that I think can define the character of a team. When Caleb Downs didn't quit on that at all. I mean, he was hauling butt down there. And wasn't there at least a smidgen of doubt if there was a fumble in there?
He did. I mean, the ball came out. I think, he was down, but the ball came out, and I thought live that Caleb might have knocked the ball out.
Okay.
But the replay showed that the guy down the ground sort of caused the fumble. But yeah, the ball did come out, and it's a tremendous play that I think really showed, like Luke says, it really shows the character of the team and the character of Caleb. That even in that situation, we're not giving up a score. I'm going to go catch that dude. We're not giving up the score, but. Man, when you look at the stats, Luke, if you back that 70-yard run out, they had nothing. I mean, they had next to nothing if you backed out one snap out, where they got literally a third of their entire offense on the day on one snap. And it was, hey, give them credit. They did. They blocked it well, and Alabama didn't play it well up front. Play that should have been stopped by the front seven. They weren't close. I think that was a good play that indicated that Alabama missed Deontay Lawson a little more than I thought, as both inside linebackers misplayed the long run, Jihad and Trez both. Man, Alabama was pretty good on defense, pretty good. Not my favorite defensive performance of the year, but pretty good. Offensively, they were pretty unstoppable. I think, Luke, had Alabama said, you know what? We're going to play 60 minutes with Milroe, and we're going to do our darndest to score a touchdown every possession. Alabama would have either done it every single time, or maybe not have failed a time or two. But no, Alabama's offense with Milroe on the field was pretty unstoppable. Throw in the fact that Milroe was playing with a significant thigh bruise, and it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is weird how at the beginning of the year, even us, I mean, we had our doubts about Milroe and oh man, I'm worried,
Fair.
And now when he was down on the ground for just a minute, again, I thought it was a cramp at first. The Alabama folks over was like, oh God, please no.
Yeah. It's almost hilarious, and then it's not funny at all. Same people were like, this guy's going to be the quarterback, and now the same people are panicked over the thought of not having him. It's 50% funny, and I hope we remember next time, Luke, that we start a quarterback who's never really started games before, that it ain't going to look perfect right out of the gate. He's got to gain some game experience and some time before we expect. I mean, that's how we've just been spoiled by particularly Bryce and Tua, who are freaks. They're freaks. They're not normal. That's not normal for 5 stars. Half of the 5 stars of the past 2 classes, Luke, aren't even starting.
It is. It's bizarre. But let me say
Bryce
this.
and Tua were great right out of the gate. That's not normal, people.
Let me also throw this in there. Yesterday I put up a picture. I was at Drake's Sports Bar in Kentucky, and just happened to be that Jalen Milroe and his dad his dad, not Jalen Milroe, his dad, and a lot of his other family members, I believe, were there, and some other folks. They had a big table with people like all walks of life there. So I don't really know what the story was. I didn't get into all that, but I went up to him because he was taking some pictures with people. So I got a picture with him, and I said, I want you to know we love him. He's awesome, and we appreciate the patience he's shown. I mean, I said that. He said, I really appreciate all the fans that have told me that. Now, I mean, that may not be verbatim, but it was essentially that. And what it lets me know is he knew there was some criticism. He also knew some of that criticism may have even been warranted. But he also knew in his heart that Jalen's a good player and eventually he'd figure this out. And that's exactly what's happened. I mean, again, Jalen's not going to even be first team all SEC. That plum is going to Jaden Daniels, who's been incredible. I sold Jaden Daniels short even at the beginning of the year. I think Jaden Daniels deserves the Heisman Trophy. If I had a vote, I would vote for him.
Yep.
But I do believe Jalen Milroe right now is the second best quarterback in this conference, and by default makes him a top 8 quarterback in the country. That's pretty
crazy.
Good.
It's crazy. I remember a conversation out on BOL, on the BOL board, where he discussed this sort of stuff every day. I remember back in about week 4 or week 5. No, let's say after Milroe had gotten a couple starts after South Florida and looked like he was about figuring it out. I put this ranking of SEC quarterbacks, and I ranked Milroe ahead of Devin Leary, and I was attacked and mocked for saying Milroe was better than Devin Leary. And look what happened this past weekend. Like now you'd be attacked and mocked for going the other way, right? And that just shows how far Milroe has come in a short period of time with Alabama fans. I mean, in terms of recognizing how good this kid was. But yeah, back in October, early October, if you said Jalen Milroe was a better quarterback than Devin Leary, you were insane then, per some people.
About it. All right, Jimmy, that's going to do it for today's podcast. We'll be back tomorrow with more. We'll start digging into Chattanooga a little bit. Probably talk some basketball as Alabama.
Whammy Ward is their defensive coordinator. I did not know that until I was knee deep in studying Chattanooga. You remember Whammy Ward?
What do you mean? Do I remember him? Is at Alabama for 42 years? He's the only player that went from Ears Whitworth to Mike Shula. I mean,
yeah, he's the Mox DC.
I mean, that's crazy. I'm happy for him. I like, you know what? Because he was the DC, I think, at Virginia Tech for a while, and he was good, wasn't he?
He's had some success at South Carolina, I think. He's had some successes in his college career. I was surprised. So I was kind of surprised because I'm like, wow, I didn't know he's still in coaching, but I guess he's at a bigger place. On the other hand, he's been the DC at UTC now for about 4 years. And you know what? You got to be doing a pretty good job to keep that job for 4 years. That's not the norm in college football, even at UTC's level.
All right, buddy. We'll talk tomorrow. Until then, roll tide.
Roll tide.